Hi there, welcome to KidDesign's tutorial and our special edition on Autodesk Tinkercad, in which we will look at how to make the Serpentine Pavilion from 2017 that was designed by Francis Kere. We'll look at how to make more complex designs using the basic shapes and how do you use patterns to quickly grow your design. First, let's have a look at the Serpentine 2017 Pavilion designed by Francis Kere. As you can see, it's a very interesting structure and has lots of shapes, lots of forms going on, different lines, different geometric shapes. So there's a few different ways in which you can actually make this model. Now, if we look at it, if we split it into the kind of main features, it has the blue walls made out of these triangular shapes. It has the inside, what Francis Kere actually calls the tree structure. So it has the base of the tree and then the trunk, so the roof. So let's say that those are the three key elements, and then obviously a little bit of furniture and other things around. If we look at the three ways in which you can do it, I would say the simplest one is if you just want to get the form, you could do it with a cylindrical blue wall, almost like a ring, and a roof on the top with another cylinder in the base. And the other extreme would be to make it precisely exact as it is, but I would say you would probably struggle to do that in Tinkercad, so you would need a more sophisticated piece of software for that. So we're going to go for the middle ground in between, where we're going to actually try and mimic most of the features, but won't really go into the detail. So let me show you what I mean by that. This is what we're going to be designing, and as you can see, it has the triangular features. Inside it's got the piping, but not with all of the exact elements, and the roof is the right shape, but it doesn't again have the details of the small pieces of wood, etc. And we have made some nice stools there and those cute wooden ones. So let me show you how to do this. So as I said, this is not the easiest tutorial, but if you want to do something a little bit more advanced and fun, this should be great for you. So we're going to start a new design. It might take a moment to load because the previous file is quite heavy with all the details. And we're going to start with the walls. The walls are, let's say, the main element of this. So we're going to do that by creating, ironically, the roof. We're going to make the wall out of the roof. And we're going to create the default roof and then resize it. So we're going to resize this to 2 millimeters wide. Make it 10 long and 5 high. So this is going to be our roof. And just for the fun of it, let's make it indigo straight away. So this is the core element of the roof. I'm going to position it somewhere here in the middle, as now we're going to do some interesting pattern duplication. So how do we do that? So we need to select the object we want to duplicate. We click Ctrl D or Command D on Mac. We move it. We leave a little gap in the middle. And now we need to rotate it. Now I'm going to rotate it 15 degrees. And as you can see, it rotated around the middle axis, so I'm going to move it back a little bit, like that. Now, before I unselect it, I click Ctrl D multiple times, and it will rotate it. It will basically remember what I've done to the duplicated part previously, and it will repeat that. Quite brilliant, actually. So, this is our little circle of triangles. So now we're going to select all of them and group them together so that it's easier to copy. So this is now one group, and if we select it again, we duplicate it, and now we want to flip it around. We go to the flip option in the top right corner, we flip it this way, And as you can see now, our duplicate is there. But we need to rotate it. So we unselect it, go back to selecting it, and we rotate it by 22.5 degrees. Actually, it's Snap's default. It's quite smart. So see, it's right in the middle of the other two triangles. So this is it. Now we select the two of them, we duplicate that, and we lift it up by 5 millimeters. We click Control D again, Control D, and here we are. This is our full circle. Although with the Serpentine Pavilion this year, it's a much more interesting shape than just a ring. It's actually kind of made up of these semi-rings that are positioned to create another bigger enclosure. So let me show you approximately how that's done. Now I have to repeat, this is not an exact replica of how it's designed. It's more like a look-alike model, but still will look very much like the pavilion. So what we're going to do is we're going to, we need to ungroup it first. We select it, ungroup it, and you see this should be all separate triangles now. And then we select half of them. Obviously you can't select exactly half because you've got these 4 in the middle here and these 4 in the middle. So what we're going to do, we're going to move this over here, and then we're going to deselect that and select these 4 and these 4 and duplicate them and bring them back here. Because if we look at how the pavilion is made, it always ends with these triangles sticking out. Let's say the horizontal ones, the flat, the ones that are base down. Right. Okay. So this is getting closer to what we need. Now we need to, let's focus on one of them first. Let's make half, and then we will duplicate and flip that half to make the other one. Actually, I think a full semicircle is a little bit too much for us. Again, looking back at this, it's a little bit less than a full semicircle. So we are going to probably remove, let's say, 2 from this end and 2 from this end. We'll see, maybe we can remove more later. If we just move this over a bit, actually I'm going to get rid of this. Yeah. See, this is what we've got now. Now I'm going to copy this, duplicate, Control D, move it here, and rotate that this way. And now I need to remove, again, probably around half of these. Let's remove this, so that we're left with this, kind of like an arc, actually, which we want to select and move it in place where we want. Sorry. We want to drag it over and play around a bit. Actually, there's no right or wrong here. We want to move it so that it feels right. We can go back to our image, see, okay, maybe it needs to go a little bit further out, actually. Like that. And then we select both of them and we duplicate them. We move them over, and now we need to flip them. We take the flip option in the top right corner, we flip it this way, and then we also flip it this way. Move this back a bit, and I think we're getting there. This is looking quite similar. Maybe go back to check the picture. Okay, maybe the gap should be a little bit smaller, in a little bit. Like I said, I'm not using any precise dimensions here, I'm just doing it quite abstract. Now if I look at it from the top view, I might want to select this bit here and maybe rotate it a little bit. Maybe that's too much, maybe 10 degrees. And then move it down 7. I'm going to do the same here. So you can rotate your view so that you can select this bit precisely. I'm going to rotate it by 10 degrees. And move it down 7. Might need to move this over here a bit. I think this looks good. I think this is fairly similar to the way in which these walls are set up in the actual pavilion. So let's keep it like this. Now, what I want to do is I want to select all this and then lock them, because now I'm going to focus on the middle bit, and I don't want to move this around. I don't want to mess it up. So I want to click the little lock here. You see they all turn purple. Now purple is the icon color of the lock, so I know it's locked. If I try and click it, move it, I can select it, but I can't do anything with it. The next thing that we are going to focus on is the actual tree structure inside. How are we going to do that? Now, I recommend, for practical reasons, just to make a cylinder in the middle, which is going to kind of represent the center point in which we're going to work. So maybe switch to top view and pick a visual center for our pavilion. If we go to orthographic view, it's going to be even easier. So the cylinder we're going to position maybe somewhere here, maybe quite central. And we're going to make it a bit bigger, maybe 36 millimeters wide. But obviously we don't need it to be that high, so we're going to make it as low as possible. For now, let's do switch back to perspective view. Oops, going to get rid of this one. Remember, delete on your keyboard. It's the simplest way to delete an object. So we're going to create the tree around this circle here. If I zoom into it, you can see that it's got these sides. Now you can modify that in the top right corner in this pop-up menu. You can make less sides or more sides to make it rounded. Actually, for this purpose, it would be quite helpful to do less sides. So let's just do 12, because that's, if we look at our drawing, that's pretty much there's 12 of these going around. So, looking back at that image, how can we make this? Initially, I thought I would make it out of cylindrical pipes, but I want to show you a different way of creating a shape like this, which might be easier for you. So going back to this, it might seem complicated to start off with, but I think it's a useful tool to learn anyway. So let's try it. I'm going to make a pyramid. Let me explain why. Looking back at this image, there's 4 of these pillars that kind of create this open-sided pyramid, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So I'm going to create a pyramid, and I'm going to chop off one side. I'm going to use the hollow box tool. I'm going to position it straight at half of the pyramid. I'm going to check that it's right in the middle. Yeah, looks good. I'm going to group them. Now by grouping, I'm making this whole part of this model and essentially carving out the bits. There we are. Now, I want to make this pyramid approximately dimensions I need. I'm going to do this, all this, I warn you, I'm going to do this approximately. I'm not going to use any particular measurements for this. So I'm going to make it narrow, maybe around 6 millimeters. This way around 6. Might actually be too big. Let's do 4. Well, let's keep it to 6 and then we can resize it later. And I'm going to keep the height pretty much similar, maybe add a few mil, so make it 24. So now, what I want to do is, I want to hollow this out. Now, there's no easy way of doing this. So what I need to do is, I need to make a bunch of duplicates, turn them into holes, and carve out the sides. So let's start off. I'm going to do Control D, or Command D, to duplicate it. And then I'm going to resize the new model out to the sides. And scale it down a bit. And lift it up by 1 millimeter. And I need to scale it this way as well by 1 millimeter. But now it's sticking out here, so what do I do? Well, I'm just going to scale it this way. To change my grid snapping, this is quite important. Now if I change my grid snap to 0.25, now I can move it a bit more precisely. Say I can move it 0.5. And see, now it's getting a bit closer to what I want. Check on both sides. Yeah, looks good. Maybe this is too thick. So I might drop it down a bit. Check the base. What I want really is this thickness to be similar to this thickness and this thickness. Looks good. And same on the top. Yeah, pretty good. Okay. So I need to turn this huge thing into a hole. And now I can see what it's going to do when I group them. So if I select the two and group, there, it's done it. But I'm going to undo this and undo again. And I'm going to duplicate this model actually. Because what I want to do is I want to make another copy and go this way. Because I want to hollow it out in both directions. But you can see if I scale from the center, it's going to do this weird thing. It's going to have the peak here and here and the base here, so it's not that great. So I just need to simply move it up this direction so that it is aligned here, and now when I carve it out, I will get a hole to this same height here. So going back to this one and this one, turning them into a hole, and grouping these three together will give me what I was looking for. Great. And one last thing I want to do is I'm going to chop off this here. Just a little bit, so I'm going to leave, if I look here, okay, this is on the top, 24 mil. I'm going to go down 1.5, let's say 2 millimeters. And I mustn't forget to group these. And here is my object. So it's got a flat base, so it can stand up, obviously. I could go around and make a box-shaped hole in the top here, but I won't bother. If you want to do that, you can do that. So I need to flip this around like this, and I need to bring it in position. So I'm just going to drag it over, zoom in. So now this is quite important because I'm going to be duplicating this, putting it around my orange cylinder. So I need to make sure that this is right in the middle. It looks good here. You can see that the orange is kind of overlapping. But I need to rotate it because I want this corner to be aligned with the center. So I'm going to rotate it by 45 degrees. I have to move it back to that position. Now let's check what that looks like from the front view. Let's put it into orthographic. Looks quite good. Let me just see what happens if I rotate it another 45 degrees. Look at it from the front view. Yeah, I think I prefer this actually. So now the back is straight and the front is kind of sticking out. That's what we want. So I think it's better to rotate it by 90 degrees and then realign it so that it's right in the corner here. So it looks quite good to me. Let's check the height. Yeah, just above. I think that's good. Maybe actually, instead of having it a little bit higher, might make it a bit lower. I'll make it 20. So that it's exactly the same height as the wall. Now comes the duplication. We select the object, and we're going to first make a duplicate on the other side. Why? Because then it's much easier to duplicate around the circle. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to make a copy by saying Control D. I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to rotate it by 180 degrees, or flip it. So you can do both. Now what's really important here is that they're equally spaced out from the center of the circle. You see, this one here is overlapping just a bit, this one a bit more. So I need to move this one a tiny bit over. That is really important if you want your circular pattern to be precise. So what we need to do now is we need to group these two together and duplicate them. We're going to click Control D, and now that we have the duplicate, we want to rotate it. Now, because we have 12 sides, let's see how good your maths is. We've got 360 degrees, 12 sides. We want it on each side. So 360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. We need to rotate it by 30 degrees. And bam, it hits right in the corner. And then just click Control D again, and Control D, and again. And again. And there you are. You've got the pattern. Pretty simple. Okay, I think this looks neat. So what we have to do, well, the remaining thing is the top roof. So I'm going to switch back to perspective view. It's much nicer. And you can, looking around, we need to understand how to make the roof. Let's have a look at the roof here again. So it's basically an inverted cone with a cut-off top, and then it's also hollowed out. So we need to make a huge cone and we need to make the base radius, let's say, well, let's position it over and see how big we want to make it. Put it somewhere in the middle, approximately. See the base. I think, yeah, something around this. Let's say 85. And the top radius, well, the top radius should really be big enough to cover our pillars. So I think 25 would be right. Yeah, looks good. And we are going to make as many sides as possible so it has a smooth edge. Height-wise, I think 20 is maybe too much. We're going to make it 10. So to repeat, the dimensions would be top radius 25, base radius 85, height 10, sides maximum, which is 64. And we need to flip it around. We can either rotate it, but I prefer using the flip so you don't mess anything up. Right? And then we need to move it up in position. 20, right? Because we know that the height of these is 20, so we moved it up 20. Right, okay, it's sitting nicely on top of these. And actually, because these don't really exist as a platform, we'll move it down by another element. It's cheap. There we are. Now, I'm going to select this one and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move the duplicate up. I'm going to change my grid snapping to 0.25 so I can move it up just a fraction. I'm going to make that one a hole. Now I've got the same cylinder. What I did, the cone, I made a duplicate of it, which is a hole, so that I can hollow my main one out. I'm going to select the two of them now, and I'm going to group them. And if you can see here in the shadow, it's now pretty hollow. But the pavilion, if we look back at the image, has a central hole as well to let light in, or rain, because it's London, and it rains a hell of a lot. So we're going to make another cylinder in the middle. Now I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to do Command D. I'm going to change the number of sides here to make it, again, smooth on the edges. And I'm going to move it up and also make it really tall. Now, aha. So what happened here is because of that cheat I did, these are now sticking out, which is not very nice. So I'm going to move this one back up so that it covers it. And I'm going to turn this cylinder into a hole and group it with my big cone. Believe it or not, it is now a hole. It's just taking a moment. Here it is. So, this is what we have. And as you can see now, this is a thin layer that's sitting on top of these. And this one is now unnecessary, but for aesthetic purposes, I'll show you I want to make a base, so I'm going to keep it for now. So let's just play with the colors a bit. I want to select all of the yellow ones and turn them into this light gray. I'm going to make this one wood color, a little bit darker. And now this one, I'm going to make this white. And it needs to be a lot thinner. So I'm going to make it 0.25. And now, because we've done the pattern, we don't need these sides, I can make it a smooth edge. So I'm going to increase this number of sides to 64. Right, so the only thing missing, really, is this base going around. If we look at the image again, it's got this nice base, so we're going to do that. First of all, look from the top. Aha, it's a bit. Move the whole thing to the center. Oh, forgot to unlock my blue ones. So the simple way to unlock an object is you can unlock each individual one, or you just click the, select the whole thing and click unlock. Lock and unlock. So now everything is unlocked. If we go back to the top view, select everything, move it right in the middle. Here we go. And now we're going to make the base. I'm going to take a cylinder. I'm going to make it anywhere really. Now, I know that the radius of this is 85, so it's 170 wide. So I'm going to make this one the same. 170. Right. Okay, let's be precise. 170. Obviously, very, very thin. I'm going to make it 0.25. And I need to now position it in the center. So I'll drag it over. Maybe look at it from the top again. Switch to orthographic view so I can be precise. And then increase the number of sides again to 64. And turn that into a light gray color. Now you can see, obviously they're the same thickness, this one and this one. So I might just select it, this one, and change my snapping to 0.1. Just bring it ever so slightly down by dragging the middle arrow. 0.1 would be enough so that this one's sticking out slightly. Switch back to perspective view. Wow, here is our pavilion. Now, I think there's something missing. There's a bit of nice furniture we saw inside. So let's just add a few of these. I really like these cylindrical stools. So I'm just going to make a cylinder approximately 8. Well, not approximately, let's make it 8. And let's make it 2 high. Let's move that in there. Make it white. And now I want to duplicate this one. So Control D. Move that. Control V. Move that. And as you might have noticed, they're slightly different size. So let's make this one 6. And let's make this one 4. Let's keep the height the same. So this one 2. 2. Here we are. We've got the little seating. Now, I really like the little stools that we have here because they're a very interesting shape. They're like a cylinder with an irregular oval hole from both sides. So I'm just going to make that really quickly. It's quite fun. So I'm going to make a little cylinder. I'm going to make it quite small, maybe, let's see, 2 by 2. 2 by 2 by 2. And I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to rotate duplicate by 90 degrees. I'm going to take that new shape. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower, but I need to change my grid size. Grid snapping, sorry, to 0.5. Or even better, 0.25. Resize that this way. Resize it this way. A bit more this way. Okay. I'm going to extend it a little bit. And now I need to duplicate this one as well. 20. Rotate by 90 degrees. And basically these two new irregular cylinders that are sticking out, I need to turn them into a hole. Group these three objects together. And you've got your little stool. Isn't it lovely? Let's make that wood color. Move it in. Oh, it's sinking because we've got this base. So I'm going to lift it up at 0.25. And now I need to duplicate and make a few of them. And spread them around so that people can sit and enjoy this lovely pavilion. There we are. Let's see. Comparing this one to this one, looks alright, doesn't it? So maybe the only thing missing is this children's playground here. And if you want to have a go at making that, I would suggest making a cone, chopping off the edge, the top, sorry, and then making a box here to create this slide. So let's try that. I haven't made that one before actually, so I'm going to try myself. I'm going to make a cone. I'm going to make it a lot lower. I'm going to make the top radius something like 4. Base radius, let's go at 10. The height, probably not too high, maybe 5. Maybe a bit more than 5. Say 8. Yeah, that looks good. And I want to make the number of sides bigger because it's a very smooth one actually in reality. So we need to make a slide now. We're going to make a box right next to it. A whole box. I'm going to resize it so that it is 8 wide, because I know that the radius of the top was 4, which means the diameter is 8. And now I just need to rotate my box so that it is right in position where it needs to be. Move it back. I want to move it so that it's kind of in the middle of that circle, so approximately like that. Let's see what happens if we group this. Could be better. I don't like this edge. So I'm going to move it like that. And also, if you look at the image, there's a little hole there. So what I might do is I might make a tiny cylinder on the top here. And to make it on the top, remember that work plane. You can make your own work plane on the top of the surface. So anything I'm modeling now is going to be on top of this cylinder, which is quite handy. I can make another cylinder here. I'm going to make it so, let's say, 7. Position it right in the middle. Drop it down by, I think, 1 millimeter should be enough. And now, move the work plane back to the original. Choose my few objects. I want the little cylinder. I want the big box, and I want the cone. And I group them together. Kind of there. If you want to make this really precise, you could go back into the group. You can select this cylinder, and you could resize it. Let's see what that looks like. That looks a bit better. But then we might need to resize our box as well. Like this. There we are. Now I'm going to move the box a bit more. And finally, make this wood shape, wood color. I can rotate this a little bit. If we look back at the image, see it's outside of the original circle, so let's do that. Let's make another cylinder. Let's actually copy this one. Let's see that we have it already. Something like that. Here we are. So we've got the stools, the playground, and everything. The complete Francis Kere Serpentine Pavilion from 2017. Thanks for watching. I hope this was useful. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how to make more complex models, make groups, make bespoke shapes by using multiple holes. So, like I said, this is not the most precise representation of the pavilion. If you want to try that one, go ahead. And actually, if you do, please let us know. I'd love to see your models. We'd love to see how you make your pavilion. Thank you very much again for watching.